Welcome to Fight the Devil, podcast episode number 11. Joining me is a man that I'm fortunate to call a close friend for the last 5 years. In that time, we've enjoyed playing tennis, basketball, and footy kicking sessions and had many good chats about pursuing passions in life, sobriety, and travel adventures. He's a champion footy star in the local league Division 1 Green Acres Football Club. This is a true story, and his name is Matt. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Very glad we got to do this, and definitely say out of everyone I've had on the pod, you have been my longest friend, and really appreciate our friendship from afar.
No, it's been great so far, and look forward to us having a chat, and just it's been great to just revisit some of the stuff that we've talked about along the way.
Definitely. Now, we don't have any particular topics to discuss today other than the general Fight the Devil subjects, being the ups and downs, vices in life, and the journey to pursue freedom. And as we know, that requires hard work and discipline.
Yeah, of course. Like, we both know that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will discuss that. But before we get into fighting devils and the traveling adventures that you've experienced, I want to ask a question that I ask all my guests on the podcast. So, Matt, in unreserved fashion, please describe yourself.
I'm probably, in true nature, I'm a bit of a joker. In true nature, I'm really laid back, and that's my true nature. But I like pushing the extremes. Like, I like to do anything that is going to make me not just better, but just out of my comfort zone. So I like doing a challenge, and probably to that extent, I like to learn multifaceted things where I've kind of never really stuck at one particular job, and that's probably part of my nature. I'm just a outward person that likes to learn and listen and see what I can impart on other people as well, and I like to help when I can, and that's probably me as a person, really.
That's great. It's really good. I felt that impression when I met you, when we became close friends about 5 years ago. One of the best stories I heard was the time, I always forget exactly where, but it was where you went out for a holiday. You went over internationally for a holiday and ended up staying there for the next 6 months as a waiter in a non-English speaking country.
Yeah, that was in Croatia.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So,
I came back thinking, this guy's a wealth of experience. I got to hang out with this guy more often.
Yeah,
After that.
it's internationally. What my dad used to always say: travel broadens your mind, and I never ever forgot that. And that's what he used to always say: travel broadens the mind. Doesn't matter if you do it interstate or you go on a country holiday or you go internationally. It broadens your scope, and you can just learn so much more about yourself if you do that. And push the boundaries and stuff like that. And yeah, sometimes we can get stuck in that position where we don't push some boundaries, and so I'm lucky enough it's in my personality. It's not too easy, not too hard for me, sorry. But yeah, it's great. It's great to travel. I love travel.
Yeah, it was the very best. Also enjoyed our previous conversations about not having to feel like we need to go down the conventional path of life. It's fallen into my hands, regarding marriage and getting a house. And that's all worked out well for me and hopefully kids in a few years. But I know for yourself, you've often said that with how things are going, and how much you enjoy the travel, that you're probably not inclined to buy a house, do what typically has been done in generations past. And I really admired that.
I think it shouldn't make it, shouldn't make it, you shouldn't have to do things a certain way. But obviously, sometimes you go down a path. Sometimes you go down a path where you go in your situation, which, I fully support as well. But sometimes you get to the point where you're like, well, you haven't gone down that path and you haven't reached that path. So sometimes you're like, all right, if I haven't gone down that path and I don't have that thing or commitment that I have to do, I can go down another way. Doesn't mean I have to follow everybody else and try and purchase a property straight away. I might just purchase it later on. I might decide I might do that, but you don't have to follow everybody else just because that's what everybody else is doing. Don't, like we discussed, don't do something that makes someone else happy just because that's what you're supposed to do. That's not a that's not a thing that me and you agree. We agree upon the same reason. Do something because you want to do it. Don't do something because you think it's a good idea. Like that seems not the right thing for you.
Yes, yes, exactly. This mindset, it definitely felt like I was gravitated towards you, Matt, and we've been consistent with that. And you were actually one of my only guests so far that was actually at my wedding. Really appreciate the journey we've had with that, and no doubt I'll be part of your milestones as well, whatever that may be as time goes on.
Yeah, I love being at the wedding. I especially love the rockstar entrance. Never forget it. Great. Well, you walked in and walked up past the table, and we got to give the high five, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a rock star coming in, and all was missing was your guitar. But you could have had an imaginary guitar going, but that was great. It was I know it was appreciated. I enjoyed being there. It was a great day.
Yeah, best moment of my life was making that entrance as the first time husband and wife, Luke and Alenia. High fived all my
Yeah,
closest mates, including yourself, Matt. Magical moment, rockstar time.
yeah. It was great. It was great. It was just great timing. As you just walk past that table as you come in, and everybody was cheering, and yeah, it was great. Great. It was great, and I was so happy to see you guys. You guys sign up because you're great. You're both great people, and yeah, it was a pleasure being there.
Thanks so much, Matt. Very glad you could make it as well. I was bringing it up to Alenia that on the way there, yeah, it was a bit of a task to get there. I think the bikes fell off the top of the car on the way on the bridge, or how did that work out?
Well, we drove across before that, and what actually happened, we went to go once we drove all the way to Adelaide. Went to go through. We completely forgot. Went to go through the McDonald's drive-through, and actually we drove through the drive-through, and the thing that the cutoff, that thing that on the other that silver bar,
Oh
you
yeah.
have it, the minimum height 1.3 meters or whatever. It just smashed all the bikes off on the back of the roof rack.
Oh
Right, and they
right.
end up on the ground, like the bikes end up on the ground somewhere. So we're trying to find at 11 o'clock at night. We were trying to find the bolts and the things on the ground in the McDonald's drive-through, and it's pitch black, and we're using our phones trying to find all the bolts, making sure the roof rack was still secure. So then we had to, So it was an interesting end to the drive, put it that way. And then we managed to secure that, and I managed to fix the roof racks and put the bikes so they were steady, and made sure that was all right. So I was going around there, and I thought, could do with a torch right now, and but didn't have a torch, but that's all right.
Yeah.
It got there in the end. So yeah, we got to the accommodation, and so it was an interesting end to the drive journey, but the next day after that went smoothly, so that was good.
Yeah. And just for context, you were traveling from Adelaide to Melbourne, moving in
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
you thought at that point.
Yeah, I was moving
But
back at that point, and
mm,
it's funny. It was just one of those things. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what pretty much happened. Yeah, at that point of time, but yeah, so it was interesting because I had a full load of car as well. So it was like probably you know on the back journey back, you're like, oh. I don't know why we didn't think about going through the McDonald's drive-through. It would be a good idea. I think we totally forgot we had the bikes on the roof, and it just happens. But yeah,
yes, no, that was good. Eventful night before the wedding, but yeah, as you mentioned, on the day everything went smooth. It was great catching up with you because I hadn't caught up with you in quite some time. So it was the wedding, and also another favourite moment was after the church. One last wedding story, then I'll go get to the questions here. But after the church ceremony, I hadn't had to proper say hello because I was almost late to my wedding due to transport issues myself. But the seeing yourself and a couple other mates in the car on the way to the reception. Because I hadn't said a proper g'day, I kind of sprawled myself in the car where the two other guys in the back seat, the three of you, yourself,
yeah,
Alec, and
I
Sean. It was
remember.
great.
Yeah, well, actually, we were actually with the photographers.
Yeah, that's
We
it.
hitched the other photographers, and you spooled out the back seat, and we haven't seen you in I haven't seen you in ages, and I was like, great to see you again, and it was just
Yeah.
it was just like I'm like back. back in back in Melbourne, seeing you again, and on a really fantastic day. And I'm like, it was great. Yeah, great, great timing for everything, really. And yeah, so
Yeah,
it was just a lot of the time, it's weddings are hard because you don't really get to say to catch ups to all your friends, and you don't get the moments. And yeah, you actually did get that moment before you actually went to a reception, which is good.
yeah, I enjoyed that. Many compliments paid for the wedding. The fact that it was a more intimate 50 to 60 people setting of a venue in the church and then in the reception. It was highly complimented the fact that it was well contained, catching up with everyone, which isn't quite frequent at a wedding.
Yeah, it's. I think you can go down two roads like in that, and like a lot of people have big weddings and stuff like that, but somehow you kind of get lost in the numbers,
Hmm.
and then you don't really get to have interaction with people and stuff like that. So it has big weddings because it's got atmosphere and all that kind of thing has its bonuses, but yeah, the smaller weddings are probably more people's preference because you get to have some kind of chat with people, and you can just have a casual kind of vibe to it. I think with the big weddings, you can get some people that get a little bit too carried away at times, and yeah, it can be a bit messy, I suppose.
No, I can. I think compliments paid also, yeah, intimacy, the number of people, and the area as well. I love the mountain setting in Sherbrooke. Sherbrooke was just brilliant. If I could do it all over again, I would.
Oh, that actually set up there in the old style white bar with the the old oak wooden finish, and
Yeah,
just the old style cabin kind of deal. It was really picturesque. Looks like one of
yeah.
them places in the you get in the mountains in Germany or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it reminded that kind of feel, didn't it? Like that when you Austria, in somewhere in Austria, you get in the mountains, you get somewhere, picturesque, and yeah, and the green area outside, and it was beautiful. Yeah, beautiful setup.
Excellent. The feedback never gets old about how it all worked out for everyone involved. And one last thing here, my 1 year wedding anniversary is coming up, being 8th of April, and today is currently 29th of March. So Elaine and I are heading up to Sydney for a week to celebrate.
Oh, nice. So yeah, you told me about that. I mean, in Sydney, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so not lots of nice spots in Sydney. My sister
Yeah,
lived there for a
that's
little
right.
while, so I've spent some time in Sydney. Yeah, did
Oh, great.
Yeah, did like I said to you, done windsurfing at Manly and done all the other things. Went down to Coogee and swam down there, and yeah, point of that Coogee Beach is probably a lot better than Bondi because just the amount of volume of people at Bondi can get overwhelming. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, it's my experience, much more picturesque, much more beautiful beach. But there's lots of stuff to do in Sydney, like out waters on the daytime. Like you can do, make sure you take advantage of the ferry to Balmain. It goes past the Opera House underneath the bridge.
Yeah,
That's
writing this
just
down.
yeah. Make sure you take advantage of that. It's great. Yeah.
Bridge. Beautiful. All right. Thanks for this. I'm pretty sure I've definitely kept the notes from the last time we caught up from those nice spots in South Australia and then also in Sydney because now I remember we did discuss. Then I did bring that up, and yeah, the time has come around. Just one more week of work, and then I can enjoy 2 weeks off of annual leave. So yeah, chomping at the bit. Really pumped up for some time off.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome.
Matt, let's start right from the beginning. So
Yeah,
I've
sure.
known you. So I've known you from your life in your 30s, late 30s onwards. But I'd like to
Yeah.
know what were you like as a kid?
I It's a little bit of a different story. So what actually happened when I was very young, I moved out to a place called Sterling North, which is near Port Augusta, which is pretty much 4 hours drive from Adelaide and near the Flinders Ranges. I'm not sure if you heard of the Flinders Ranges, a big national park. Yeah, big national park, and
Yeah.
right down towards Port Augusta. You go Port Augusta, you go Port Lincoln. That's where all the fishing is down there that way. So yeah, so pretty much I grew up there, and I used to go. with my dad rabbit hunting and stuff when I was younger,
Oh,
and
nice.
help him go rabbit hunting. And then I used to catch frilled neck lizards and blue tongue lizards and catch them. And I built myself a little cage outside and had a used to get to about 20 of them, 20 of those, and my dad would say, "Oh, you need to release them because every time someone walked past, they'd like jump out of the they want to jump out of the cage area I was hunting them in." So yeah, I had
Wow.
to return them. Well, once I got to 20, I had to return them back to the wild again. And
Wow.
yeah, and then I used to there have these things, big pepper trees across the road from me. Is a little bacon bark, all these pepper trees. And we used to, all my cousins, because I had two older cousins next door, and my sisters and all my other, obviously, cousins as well. Like, all was probably 8 of us in full. So they had four kids, and then the other, there was 4 of us. And yeah, so it was interesting side story because my cousins across the road, one of them wasn't a direct child of my auntie. It was her sister because unfortunately we went up there and then we went up there because her husband died in a car accident.
Oh, sorry to
And
hear that.
yeah, so we went up there. We're on the way to Brisbane, actually. The story is we went up to Port Augusta. I was on the way to Brisbane. Then he died and we stayed. And
Right.
but before that, one of the kids, one of my cousins, that she was looking after, he wasn't her child. He was her sister's child. But years before that, when he was a baby, my mum's sister and my mum's mum and my other auntie and 2 kids were in this car accident in Adelaide Hills, and 3 people died, which is including one of my mum's sisters, and that my cousin Jason, he went up to Port Augusta, and my auntie Joan looked after him and adopted him as her own, right?
Wow.
So that's the backstory. Yeah. So my 4 cousins across the road, one was made up of from one of my other sisters, my mum's sisters that died. So virtually what we used to do, we used to go across the road. We used to make these. It's like a cubby house, but it's like a level of a thing from tree to tree. So imagine each branch is going up. You had like a level, like a wooden thing you make up with branches and you sit on. So
Okay.
because I was the youngest, they thought they wanted me to be at the bottom. But
Okay.
me being me, I wanted to be 3/4 of the way up the tree, which was
Yeah.
which is almost like a story and a half of a building, like
Oh.
yeah. So you
And
meant one floor and a half of
and how old were
of a
you at that
building.
point?
Oh, I was under 7, like
Oh,
I was
right.
young, yeah, and I was young.
Okay.
I was very adventurous as a youngster.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
yeah, and I was making these cubby houses and all that, and all my cousins were there. We used to make these cubby kind of platforms and on these big oak trees and big pepper trees, and the pepper trees probably used to grow like 25 meters tall, like the big trees.
Right.
And then
Wow.
I was coming down one time, and I remember that I fell off and landed on the ground, and everybody was worried about me. I was like almost a story, and I fell off and hit the ground. And then they were worried about me, and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. And I just got up and ran off. And yeah, so we used to do that. We used to do the wilderness kind of thing. So it was a different upbringing. It was kind of
Oh,
country. And then when I was about 7, 8 years old, I went back to Adelaide, back to the city life. So then it kind of, I was still an outdoorsy kind of person, and like doing the playing with trucks and normal boys, doing that kind of stuff. And then
yeah.
involved myself in sport when I was in primary school and hanged around like I normally am, multiple background and cultures.
Yep.
Used to play marbles with the Asians and then play soccer with the Italians at lunchtime.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, and then and then sometimes I used to play Dungeons and Dragons as a board game in lunchtime with some of the other people, the other Australian guys. Like so I was always a bit of a nerd. Yeah, so yeah, that's bit of a background and played lots of sport through what they call Vista. I'm not sure if they have that in Melbourne. It's you on Friday afternoons. You nominate a sport and you go play that. You verse other schools.
Okay.
So
Oh yeah.
one Friday you're at your own school. The other Friday you travel on a bus to another school,
Yeah.
and you go and play other schools in certain sports. So yeah, So different things.
Inter-school sports was the
Yeah.
term in primary school. So what was your nominated choice of sport at that time?
Well, I didn't have one. So I played cricket for Vista, also soccer, also volleyball, and
Brilliant.
also what was the other one? Also, I did athletics in relation to 100-meter sprinting. Yeah.
100-meter sprint. Okay, so you were a fast sprinter.
When I was young, I was, but as I grew, I got slower. I was only good over like 25 meters after that. So as I did
Okay.
the spurt, I kind of lost my speed. But me and this other guy was always first and second place throughout primary school. Well, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I was
Yeah.
quite quick, and then I still have some speed over the first like 25 meters. But now, kind of as you grow, you kind of lose that speed as you grow. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So I
wouldn't have
went on
picked that
growth
up
spurt.
given the stories I've heard from your other mates talking about that bad ankle that you suffered for 10 years, and then the
Yeah.
bad back that plays up from your mat. I would never have known it. That's very impressive to hear that at one stage, the short sprints, 100-meter sprints, that was your thing. It's great to hear.
Well, when I was playing amateur league when I was younger, when I was 17, 18, I was always beating everybody off the league because I had a quick burst of 25 meters, so I can get them in the first 25.
Yeah.
And that's how I was. And I ended up being a forward because I was more of a power kind of player than like an endurance kind of player. So yeah, I could beat him on the burst, and then I could gain that ground, and that was probably the ideal sport for me because I could, you know, and that's why I'm probably still okay at tennis because I can still cover the 5-10 meter spurts. But obviously from that is like anything endurance sport is kind of a little bit more difficult.
Yes. Work to your strengths. And it sounds like at that stage, you've thrown your hat in the ring to many different sports. Was there anything you particularly wanted to be as a kid? Like if someone asked you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was your answer at that stage?
I think I was a little bit strange a kid because I'm going back to my younger years. In year four, I was a little different in relation to that because I did a lot of different things. And
Okay.
in year four, I used to come home after from school to my nana's place, and I used to get these car magazines, not because I like cars, because I could copy the lettering designs because I like the lettering designs they had in car magazines, and I could
Okay.
get my pencils and draw them out and design my own. My own. I'd use that to design my own lettering, like
Oh,
choose a
wow.
sport and do a lettering with it. Because when my nana obviously passed away, she had all my designs I made for was in year four to year five. There was about 10 of them on her lounge room heater. It was all across there. That's and I always pictured myself. It was quite funny. I never really pictured myself like playing sport professionally. I always pictured myself doing something in creative nature. After primary school, I used to come home and draw my parents' cars on the
All right.
driveway. I sit there and draw them. Yeah. Always pictured myself as that kind of creative kind of person.
Yeah, great. We're encouraged to use our creativity. I mean, depends who you're around, but I'd say the best of people will be encouraging you to use your creativity, and that's that brain's flowing of at your nana's house, have all that leisure time to draw the cars, and it sounds like the design aspects, what you're still wanting to work in that field, that started very young by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think so. And it was funny. I could adopt and do sports and do that kind of thing, and I could do that to a certain level, and I could do that. But like, as you know, like if you want to anything that what people want to pursue, if they're not 100%, they want to do that in that area. That it's not really gonna work for them. But for me, I was more creative. Like, and also in high school in year 10, I was doing this half man, half horse drawing. I did,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
centaur.
I did one of Yeah, Centaur. I did that. Full scale one. It was like A2 size. I'm not sure you know that size. So it's double A3, like it's big.
Okay.
And I did pencil shadings and all that with it. And I faded all in and did all the abs on the character and all the head, designed the head and all that with locks and all that and a beard and yeah, did all that. And my art teacher wanted me to go to study art, and
Okay.
but in that period of time I was in year 10, so I'd have to leave school to do that. They didn't have that facility they have now where you can do art, you can do tape stuff, and you didn't really have that facility when I was going to school that you could do
Yeah.
some tape subjects while you're at school. So yeah, it was always on that cards where I could draw, and so
Yeah.
yeah, so it was one of those things. It was just yeah, it was always kind of a passion, and yeah,
Yes. Good to hear the passion started early. Just relating to childhood, last time we caught up, you told me some home life stories of growing the tomatoes at home and
yeah,
other
yeah,
organic vegetables. How
yeah.
has that life shaped you to who you are today?
I think it's very important. Like I remember that when when I was younger, even when I was in the country, there'll be this massive weeds and my dad would go, "All right, time for us to do the gardening," and my sisters would disappear. Somehow they'd magically vanish somewhere, and I'd be stuck with pulling all the weeds out and doing all that. And then it got into the fact where we were at home, and my dad would get a trailer load of horse manure, and I'd have to shovel it into wheelbarrows and put it in the garden, and then dig the garden, turn it over with the horse manure on top. And not sure if you've been to a closed trailer with it's been a 35-degree heat day and there's horse manure in it. It's not a pleasant, fun thing. But at the end of the day, he used to teach me how to plant all the seeds and all that kind of thing, and what
Oh,
you need
wow.
to do that, and make the borders on the garden and stuff like that, and set up the watering system and stuff like that. And yeah, so it's one of the skills, and then you get to when all the tomatoes and corn and all that, and it's a different experience that I don't think
Oh,
people
yeah.
have, because you don't realize when you buy the tomato from the supermarket, you don't realize what it takes to get to that point. And also,
Yeah.
it don't taste anywhere near the same. And you go to tomato, you buy one, and then you grow one, and you realize, hang on, these tomatoes at supermarkets don't actually taste like real tomatoes.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
why is that? And you realize, oh, because they got chemicals and they got all these other things in it. So yeah, it kind of changes you in relation to, well, natural's always better, and
Yeah.
that's yeah, there's that experience. And yeah, I'll probably, when I get my own place, I'll probably end up being a gardener, to be honest.
Yeah. No, that's it. And Elaine, your eyes plan. So will we in the future with a big, good section of space to do that life similar to what my grandma did, and that because that was what her life was growing up as well. A lot more going on with the silver beet and corn and feeding the buffaloes and
Yeah,
all the other animals as well. So maybe not that extent, but certainly somewhere in the middle would be nice to continue that organic products. And the story that amused me was when you went over to your friend's house and tried a real tomato from the supermarket for the first time, and you couldn't recognize the vegetable.
yeah, it was unusual because my dad always grew tomatoes at home. So I was like, I had it first time when I was a kid. I was like, what is this? This tastes horrible. And I'm like, and they're like, well, it's a tomato. And I said, no. I said to him, you come to my house and I'll give you tomato with salad with cheese on it, on a salada, and you taste the difference. And I was like,
Yeah.
I used to have fresh salad with fresh tomatoes and fresh corn in it. I was like, it's miles apart. You just don't realize, My mum grew up on the first automated milk farming farm in South Australia. My
Okay.
grandpa set up the dairy milk cows, and he set up an automatic feeder. So you plug the actual cow to get milked, and does it automatically. And then she grew up in like a massive farm of all cattle, like with over 200 milking cows and merinos and stuff like that. And this is a type of cow, type of sheep. merinos, the sheep, and they did the shearing and stuff like that. So
Right.
I think my mum come from that country background, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably more of another story.
Great to hear. No doubt we'll continue to pay that forward. I know the previous episode I had, two episodes ago, my Italian friend, he's 25, I'm 27, we've said it between ourselves that we will continue to pay that forward for the next generations, so that it's not a lost art, because as you said, it's way too convenient now to go down to the supermarket, and that's the standard. So now you've got to keep it organic, and if we have the time, now I'll make pizza from home, homemade pizza, homemade pasta, and all the other meats, other products as well.
Yeah, and also making your own like salami and stuff like that. I said to someone like, if you ask someone to just make their own sausages, they wouldn't know that you need to get a mincer and get the skin and get the mince and mince it off and mince the vegetables through. And I'm like, well, it's kind of we're losing even the littlest part of what we're doing, I suppose. And look, it's probably it's up to you guys to bring through the next people so they know how to do it. Like it can get lost, especially if you come from like yourself. I come from Italian heritage. That all gets taught to what generation to generation, I suppose. And I suppose if you don't teach your kids, you're not going to learn.
Yeah. What I'm never going to forget as well, like you met my nonna, you saw my grandma at my wedding, who was 87, and she's 88 now, turning 89, but she was still continuing to hang the sausages, hang the salami up in the garage, like typical Wog style, and she's not in, not in the type of health to be doing that, but she does because she knows I love it and I want to continue that forward. So she's still teaching me the strategies and tips to get the best salami and make it taste really, really good.